Oh, I'm live. What's up, y'all? Okay, cool. Good to see you guys. I think this does have a comment section and a place where people to join in here. I think that is like a link for people to have. Guests can stream to their own destinations. I don't know. I have 10 people on the screen at once. So I think I got a place so that people can come in here and join, which is fantastic. So if you guys are here, come in and join on the live because we are live and that's fantastic and that's awesome. So I want to kind of talk a little bit about marketing as we go into the new year. I definitely want to dive into marketing into this new year. And honestly, some of the lessons that I learned last year, especially when it comes to marketing. So I'm pretty excited to dive into that today. I don't have like a slideshow or anything like that, but I do want to show some of the and I'm going to make like a pretty concise YouTube video version of this so that people can see, so that I can really like explain it. So I'm going to do, I guess right now it's going to be a longer version of this so that everybody we can kind of dive into it and I'll show you a little bit of let me see, let me make sure that my live right here. Cool, one person is watching, sweet. So that you guys can kind of see what I mean and I'm talking about. And I'm happy to share this because I'm going to end up sharing it anyways, I think. I'm going to talk about like how much we made as far as like as far as our deals are concerned and what marketing sources and stuff like that. I'm going to show a little bit of that because last year didn't go as expected, which is all right. Like it happens like that. That's such is life, right? So I'm really pumped to kind of dive into some of the numbers, some of the lessons that I learned, and then some of the and this is going to be good to flesh this out as I'm going to create a more concise version of this video on the YouTube channel. But some of the lessons that I've learned and some of the things that I'm going to change moving forward because there's definitely a big difference in the lessons that I've learned and what I'm going to change. So and a lot of these are going to be based off of our numbers for how much we ended up selling. So how much we ended up doing as far as our deals are concerned. So let me see. I'm going to see if I can share this. I think I can share my screen on StreamYard. Okay, I can. So I'm going to share this right here because this gives a pretty good idea of like what we did last year and what we bought and what we spent. So we spent a total of $507,584 on marketing, and I'll break this down because there's like a little bit of a difference to it all. So like as you can see over here, something like our data is split into three because there's three things that use our data. So for like you guys to see that it'd be really interesting. So the three things that use our data would be like direct mail. Direct mail would use data. Some of our data. Actually, I'll show you right here the things that use our data. This direct mail uses a third of our data because essentially you have to have good data to send direct mail to those. Cold calling uses a third of our data and a half of our skip tracing. SMS uses a third of data, half of skip tracing because those are the things that use our data. So like that's how I broke it down. So I split up the marketing. So when it says like, oh, I spent $86,000 on cold calling or SMS, it's because like data is included in that. What else is included in that? The cost of cold calling VAs is included in that, and half of like call tools is included on that. So it's really cool because now you have a good idea of like how much does this stuff actually cost when you incorporate the value of your virtual assistants, when you incorporate the value of skip tracing, all of that stuff in there. And so, for instance, like if we were to go here, if we spent $17,000 this month on virtual assistants, that is split up between cold calling right here, right? Foreclosure VA callers, data, SMS. That's where most of our cold callers are. And even like half of data VA call salaries are in foreclosure acquisition. So I really wanted to split it up so that we can see how much of these things actually costing you, not just like the dialer and whatever, but like how much are these things actually costing you? Let me see if anybody's coming in yet. I don't think so. But okay, so how much are these things actually costing you? So that was important for me to kind of like dial in and know because at the end of the day, I want to know what actually is working. And so like you could see like if let's say we got people will be like, oh, it's cheaper to do direct to do cold calling or texting when it's like, no, that's not always the case. When you add in the amount of for as much data as we get, for as many cold callers as we have, for as many, like for the apps and then for the users for the apps, all of those things, that breaks into $8,945 a month for this specific month for big data. Now, we probably bought data this month, but didn't buy data the next month. So see, it's only $7,600 that month. So then like the price fluctuates where I don't know why it was only $1,000 this month. Something must be off. Or maybe we didn't pay VAs that month. Maybe we doubled it up the next month or something. But if we look here, $7,100 for cold calling and texting each. In July, September was $8,900 for cold calling, $8,300 for texting. October, $7,600 for cold calling, $7,000 for texting. So like you could see that these numbers really, really fluctuated based on the amount. And so like it wasn't cheaper for me to do certain things. So like for instance, this is really good to know. We spent $84,000 on direct mail. Now, this is part of some of the things that I learned. So if I talk about and try to break it down into lessons, the number one thing that I learned right here was like tracking all your numbers so you know what your actual numbers are. It's easy for me to go, oh, cold calling is just a texter and like a dialer and whatever. But it's like, no, there's a lot more incorporated into that. The second thing that I learned was like, you got to have a really, really good sales process, no matter what your lead source is, because otherwise you're just going to be wasting leads. So, and I can tell you this because I spent a lot of money on direct mail, spent a lot of money, not as much money on lead kitchen. So I spent a ton of money on outbound sources, not as much on inbound. I did spend a lot on direct mail, which is an inbound source, but my sales process and my team was not properly in place and qualified and positioned well enough to really be really successful on inbound leads. So you want to really have a dialed in process. During this time, I was using a lot of virtual assistants that were closing VAs, not just cold calling VAs, but closing VAs. And that really hurt me. It really hurt my conversions. It really hurt my the process just because one, just straightforward and honest, we live in the South where I think people, we've like my American acquisitions people have gotten, like people have told them specifically, man, I'm glad that you don't have an accent. And it's not because of like, the other people weren't good people because I think they all were great people, but it literally was because they just sometimes they want to talk to Americans and like they don't. So then what happens is we'd get these houses under contract or we'd get these things under contract through our inbound sources and they wouldn't close because like expectations weren't managed well or even like trust wasn't established, the communication was off, there was lost in translation. And so then what ends up happening is like a lot of those didn't translate into opportunities or didn't translate into closings. And so typically what should have happened, so statistically, 30% of your leads should be qualified leads. This is well below that number. This, at the end of the day, only 12%, 13% of our leads ended up being qualified leads. So literally, we missed out on another, we should have tripled the amount. It should be around 1,500 leads that should have converted. And so just imagine if we tripled all of these numbers, 1,500 leads converted into opportunities. That would be 190 under contract. That would be 90 closed. And so that's what should have happened. But I think a lot was lost in our inability to when it comes to, so here's another lesson, is qualifying correctly from your outbound sources. A lot of these people are going to get calls and texts and they're going to say, sure, I want an offer. Sure, I want an offer. But they're not qualified enough. So then it turns into only 5% conversion rates on leads to qualified leads. So there's just so much broken in our process here this past year that needs to be fixed moving forward. And that was huge for us. Let me see, is anybody in here yet? Nope, nobody on here. That's okay. So there's a ton that, let me refresh over here to see. I just want to see, make sure that if anybody has the opportunity to get in here, they can get up in here. Okay, nope. So as you can see, like we had a ton of leads, a lot, 4,614 leads, only 600 converted. And it's because we were either overqualifying here or when these people when we answered the phone or called them back. Because I will say majority of these leads too, we did not answer on live calls. And because we did not answer on live calls, we did not get good conversions. And then even our marketing, so like our Facebook ads, we were not calling within the first 1 minute. Definitely not within the first 5 minutes. Sometimes within not the next couple of hours when leads would come in, maybe within 24 hours. And so then what happens is you never talk to those leads. And because you never talk to those leads, they never get converted to opportunities. So then for us, we definitely have missed the boat in a lot of ways on converting leads to opportunities just because we weren't answering live calls. We weren't getting, like, everything wasn't set up and prepared for inbound leads. If you guys are going to do inbound marketing, which is paper, like PPL, which is kind of outbound, but they're submitting a form. Lead Kitchen, Google Ads, Facebook ads, anything like that where people can call you, submit to you. You have to be following up with those inquiry forms that come in within less than a minute. The more likely you are to do that, the more likely you are to get in touch with those people and then be able to set up another call. So we missed so many opportunities because we weren't getting in touch with our inbound leads, which are our hottest leads. Because if you look here, Lead Kitchen converted 30% of the time. And that's with people like we didn't call back, or we called back too late, or some of those things. And so like we really missed the boat on a lot of those and still converted 30% of those. Now we're dialed into those to where we're doing PPL right now, and we are ready. It's funny. 92, like right now, I can look at our numbers for PPL for this year. Let me see here. I have spent $2,500 already this month on PPL. 11 have converted. One might be a contract. So like those are just the amount of leads. And then honestly, not even, I mean, the opportunities, only 4 or 5 have led to opportunity, like 4 or 5, almost 40 to 50% have led to opportunities this month that then will allow us to get a contract because we've been faster. Yo, what's up? We got people up in here. Let me see. Yo, good to see you guys. How you doing?
Yo, good to see you.
Oh, sorry. I can hear myself on your screen. Let me remove you guys from the stage real quick. I think that's you, Jay. I hear an echo, myself echo. Steve, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Glad you're here.
Hey, good to see you.
What's up? So I'm diving in through and talking about some of my biggest marketing mistakes from last year. With now that we have all of our numbers in, and kind of diving into this and what I could have done better and where it should have been better, honestly. So feel free to like ask questions, chime in, because I was just going and talking about this because I'm actually going to create like a shorter video on the YouTube video on this, and kind of put that out there and kind of like show some of these mistakes that I made now that I spent $507,000 last year on marketing, and then like what my biggest mistakes were and some of the things that I learned. So that's just what I'm going through right now. So, and I don't know, I know you and I have probably talked a little bit about this, but now that I've learned from last year, I think I'm diving in a little bit more onto this. So like when it comes to people properly like aggregating what the cost is for them to do their marketing on certain things, like, because I think it's really easy to say, oh, and I was talking about this earlier. It's really easy to say, oh yeah, it's cheaper to do SMS and cold calling. Well, it's like it's not cheaper if you account for, and you can see what I account for here. A third of the total cost of data, half the skip tracing, cold calling VA, call tools, which is the dialer platform. Actually Enzo dialer now. Now the leads are cheaper, right? We were paying $59. Like $60 or $68 per lead, but that doesn't mean the quality of them. If we look at it, like what was our cost per converted lead compared to, so SMS compared to Facebook ads, $445. It costs us essentially $445 to convert a lead, whereas SMS or cold calling costs us way more to convert a lead. And so like just the quality is a lot less.
Makes sense.
So yeah, just really dialing in on this stuff is really important. And you guys have this spreadsheet. I would highly suggest you use it. We've already started, like we use it right now. We started with a 2025 fresh version of it, and it's nice to have. So I think there's a walk.
Who's populating the spreadsheet?
I do.
Oh, okay. So you're pulling all the data from different areas and consolidating it here.
Yeah, because like nobody knows my bills, right? So like these have like, because like you'll see if you go over here, you'll see on the right side is where I put in how much did my dialer cost me this much, how much did skip tracing, how much did skip genie, how much did the VAs cost, how much did the text platform cost. Like I put those numbers in every month. And if you look here, like the spreadsheet that you guys have will do this as well, but it's going to directly aggregate. So let's say I spend $5,000 on this. You'll see once I press enter, the things that use data, the numbers will change. So like I put all that over here, and then you could say like, oh, there's only 2 things that use data. And then, so then you would connect that and you'd say, all right, what 2 things, if only 2 things use data, then it's split 50% based on this number. So then you would like, because like W3 is this one right here. So it's grabbing from right here. I know spreadsheets aren't everybody's thing, but this is a good way to be able to like, just plug and play to break down how much everything's costing you. So like when you get data, throw the cost of data in there that month.
You just do this once a month, it looks like, for the previous month.
I do this. Yeah, I would do this once a month, but even I've already started doing it for this month. So like when I get like, cause we do our, and this is fantastic. I love that we're talking about this right now. We do our stoplight report every month, every week. And so like while I do my stoplight report, we'll go in and change that up.
Gotcha.
Yep. And if you're not familiar with the stoplight report, like I'll show you what it's supposed to look like. This is like what our stoplight report looks like, right? So towards the end of the year, it was a little bit tough because everybody was on vacation and stuff like that, which is not an excuse. But we go in and we say, oh, how many big data cold call leads? How many of those converted into opportunities? How many PPL leads or lead kitchen or direct mail leads? How many of those converted into opportunities type thing? And then that's when I'll go in and put that into our ROI spreadsheet. So like so far, I've put this into our spreadsheet. Like we've already got a contract. And then actually we already got this one and got it sold. And then like so far PPL, hopefully we're going to get another one of those contracts today from PPL. That would be fantastic. And we've gotten, I think maybe like four to six and I think 12. So like I would go in and all these numbers will get updated on Monday morning next week. So then I'll have more of an update of these every Monday morning, knowing how much I've spent, all that stuff. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you guys have that template, by the way. Okay. So make sure you use it. It's super, super helpful, man, especially if you're spending any kind of money. Because now I know, because I was able to go to my partners, like straight up. I was able to go to my partners with this one and be like, hey guys, let's literally just stop cold calling and texting.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I said that. I said, so I let go of all my cold callers and texters. Okay. There's no reason, because like I would rather pump that into we're going to turn on Google Ads. I would rather pump that into inbound leads, because I just know, and I think Jay, you and I had this conversation, maybe somebody and I had this conversation of like, I can't remember who I had this conversation with, but it was like, hey, if you want to get reps because you want to learn, right? Like you want to learn and you want to grow and you need to hone in your sales process, cold calling and texting is going to be great for you, because look at how many leads that brings in. A lot of these people are going to be crap leads. They're like just whatever, but they're going to get you reps. But if you've got a dialed in sales process, you might as well just start doing inbound leads and then like having high quality conversations every time you pick up the phone, rather than like people are that's going to be like, kick rocks, or I don't know if I want to sell this or that. I mean, like, look at this. This is what's crazy. If I look at every single month in here, same amount. I mean, I spent the same amount in big data or SMS as I did in PPL, or as I did in when I started doing Lead Kitchen. Like I spent $12K this month, because that was like initial. They make you pay 3 months in advance when you start with them, but it brought in 45 leads, and then 50% of those leads converted into hot leads. So it's like, and then moving forward, look at this, $4,500 I spent the next month for 72 leads. 17 of those converted. And the reason why I would say less converted this month is because like this is when I had VA closers, which I won't do again.
Can you expand that a little bit just to increase the view on it?
Oh yeah, like this.
Zoom in a little bit more. Yeah, that would be Thanks.
Yeah. So I had virtual assistant closers in Egypt that like either wasn't getting on these when they wasn't getting on these within like, you really want to jump on these inbound leads within the first like 30 seconds to a minute, and then 5 minutes or less for sure, where like I knew that we weren't. Our average time was like in the hours or the next day or something like that. And so like a lot don't convert because they're filling out forms for your site and then other sites and then other sites and then other sites. So then like what I would rather do is have in here. So this year, especially when I have people that are answering much quicker, more than like, so imagine if 40 to 50% of your inbound leads should convert into opportunities, 40 to 50%. So if that happened, we're looking at 30 something leads that then should be, 6 to 8 contracts from spending $4,500 a month. So like, it just is, I would rather have higher quality conversations and higher quality leads than 315 to get to 26 to get to 2 contracts. I mean, these are almost identical numbers. And I actually spent less this month than I did cold calling.
Wow.
So like, it's really not when you think it's cheap. You think because it's cold calling or texting, it's cheaper. No, it's just providing more leads. But that doesn't mean that the leads are more qualified leads. Yeah. So there really is that just understanding of like what you're actually getting into when you're doing cold calling or texting. So that was a really important lesson for me to learn. So then now, and the reason why I say that, because then now I can go to my team and go, look, guys, this converted 5%. This converted, you know how much time these calls took up? Like these can like a lot of time and resources, and converted at 11% and 5%, whereas this one's converted at 30 and 15 and 16 on not a good sales process last year at all. So I really need to refine this, and then we could at least like probably do 50% more business, 30 to 50% more business, bro. So that's the goal for this year, is honestly to drop off cold calling and texting and then only go inbound. And then
is door knocking on this? Are you accounting for any door knocking? Or
so right here I have my foreclosures acquisitions. This is actually my foreclosure people. So this one covers my foreclosure people's salaries. So this is not just like this. It covers. I don't want to show their salaries on, but like, okay, it covers like the data VAs that mine for it, and then it covers the skip tracing, and then it covers the salaries. So that's all this covers, because a lot of these. So there's a difference here. This is cold calling VAs and callers that are getting cold calling leads. So in total, we got about 1,359 foreclosure leads. And then we converted that into 242 foreclosure opportunities, which then turned into 22 foreclosure contracts for us. So, because these are both foreclosures here. This one is leads that come in from my foreclosure cold callers. This one right here are leads that come in from my foreclosure closers that actually are like themselves calling the list and getting their own leads as well.
Got you.
And some of them will door knock. So door knocking's on there as well. But this is like all things foreclosures, is this two right here.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Understood. Okay.
So yeah, that's what I have this at. Yours is going to look a little different, because I don't know, like I took out all this foreclosure stuff because I don't know if people do foreclosure like me. I tried to make it as generic as possible, but you could always come in here and change that up. Makes sense. Yo, what up, John? Good to see you too, man. Everybody up in here.
Hey, how you doing?
Jay, I'm going to add you back in. Okay, there we go. I wanted to make sure that it wasn't a lot of reverb on there. All right, Jay, I know you've been sitting over there looking. I didn't know if you had any questions. John, we've been diving into like my biggest marketing mistakes last year. I don't know when you got in because I wasn't looking at this screen, but we were walking through like what actually made sense to do. Like, I'm not doing any more cold calling or texting this year. We're spending all of our money on inbound leads just because quality is a lot higher and my sales process is a lot better. So like but you can't do any of that stuff without understanding your numbers. And then I did tell him that this is I told them that this is also in there. You have access to this too.
Perfect.
Yep. Cool. Do you have any questions? Y'all have any questions for anything?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, of course, man.
Can you talk a little bit about one of my challenges is first, how are you going to restructure your team so that when that lead comes in, the inbound lead comes in, you're going to have an immediate response, 30 seconds to a minute?
Yeah, so we have our dialer. I actually, y'all, I've switched it up a lot. So I had like 6 big data cold call like acquisition people at one point, but they were all like, I mean, like I'll show you straight up. And this is like the plus and minus of doing it the way we did it. So this month right here, I had like 6 big data closers, not like cold callers, closers that were in Egypt. I think I had like 5 or 6 of them in August and September. And then I had like 3 or 4 foreclosure people. And that month we got 17 contracts. 8 of them, how many were from foreclosures? 6 were for foreclosures. That means that I had 11 contracts come from VAs in Egypt. Like, that's crazy. That you would be like, holy smokes. What I learned though, like if you look, they didn't close. So what ended up happening was like, it wasn't even that they were locking them in too high. I think like one, we live in the South, where right now I literally get people that my salesperson will call and they'll be like, oh man, I'm glad you're American. Like they say that, which is crazy. So like, it's crazy. And so we live in the South where that does make a difference. And then I think what happens is there's a loss of trust. There's a lack of like things get lost in translation. Expectations are not managed well. So then you run into a lot of issues. I think that I found with closers out in Egypt. Now they're cheaper, right? $8 an hour and 2% rather than 10% plus, like and a monthly salary, like way cheaper. But yeah, we also closed at like a much lower rate because there was just a lot, like people would go and sign with other people. And I think they didn't think we were serious. They didn't think the offer was legitimate. Like who knows what they didn't think, but like they just didn't develop enough rapport and enough trust for them to close with us. So although we got 17 contracts that month, which sounds fantastic, we're not closing 17 deals from that. It drastically dropped off. So my team looks much different. I really only have one closer. One of them is he lives in Georgia right now. And he just started with me probably like last month. And so as he starts to close more deals, I'm trying to get him to move up here because he's like a young guy. And I'm like, bro, just move up here. We got a house you can come stay in, all that stuff. So get him to move up here. And then I'll probably, when we turn our marketing on, so we're probably going to spend, this is also something that you guys should do. I'll probably put this in here. There's 2 things that you guys should look into. So as you guys prepare for this year, I'm going to show you 2 documents that are really important. Share screen. Okay. I'm going to show you guys 2 documents that are important. One is a pro forma. So just walking through like, what do you expect this year to look like? What are you trying to make this year like? So for us, we're like, all right, if 3 million is the goal, we've got to do 250 a month. What does it look like to do 250 a month? Like if we're spending whatever we're spending on marketing, sales, commission, salaries, and like we'd be at operating expenses of 76, 35,000 in expenses. And so then like our top line overhead, like we're probably spending at 112 a month to get to 250 a month. So like having a pro forma is good to break this down, to know what your profit margins are and where you can hire off of or where you can plan to hire more. And then I'll show you one more thing. So I'm in Collective Genius, and one thing that we have an annual planning thing, but it also, I'm going to kind of take out, might put like arbitrary numbers in here just for the sake of this. Let me see. I'm making everybody at $50,000. Okay. So like so something like this is really helpful too. So if you want to come in and you can say, all right, how many flips are you going to do this year? At what average value? How many wholesale deals do you want to do? How many installments for us? How many installment sales do we want to do? How many rentals do we want to hold and on what average? So to really sit down, run these numbers, how much do you want to pay your people? How much are your people on like your staff expecting to get paid? And then what happens is it breaks a lot of that stuff. You can then break down like your budget into here. And then what happens is it starts breaking that into, okay, how much a quarter? And then like, what's going to end up being your profit margin? So if we operate off that fake-ish number that I gave you guys, then we'd be operating off of like a 32% profit margin, which depending on how you grow, because if you look at the calculations, if I say here, we're going to do 10 now, 15 now, 35 here, and then 25 here because it goes down in, Q4 because of the holidays, then we can start to go, all right, profit margins are going to be tighter or like a little bit tighter here. Then they're going to be much bigger here because you're going to be doing more deals during that time and then coming back down here. So it allows you to plan accordingly. So having a sheet like this, I'll probably like upload for you guys because that would be really helpful. Because even this,
Yep.
I'm a big data guy, just a big data guy. Industry standards, if I were to get as many, leads, this is what your expectation should be. If like you had, let's say you're like, all right, I want to get 5,000 leads in this year, then this is where you should expect to close if your average is 20,000. So like, let's say you're like, okay, well, I want to close 50 deals. How many leads should I get? So, okay, I need to get 6,500 leads. How do I get 6,500 leads? And then like, you just kind of reverse engineer what's your best way to get that many leads if you want to close 50 deals. So I'm sorry, guys.
And then leads aren't even the same, right? Because leads coming from the cold callers or texters are different from the inbound leads. So that's just 6,500.
Correct.
Yeah, like how do you weight that?
Cool. So this is good because like this is how, and this is for you guys. This is how I was like, oh man, the quality of our leads were so bad because this number right here is how many leads we got last year. 4,600 leads. This is how many leads we got last year, which means we should have had 1,300 qualified leads. But I told you what you guys saw. Remember, like you guys saw that we only had 597 qualified leads.
Yeah.
So there is something broken in our conversion, right? That's how I knew there's something broken. So one, the quality of our leads, I knew that from cold calling and texting, the quality of our leads is terrible, which is what brought that down. But then also, if these are the inbound leads are supposed to convert between like 35 and 50 or 35 and 50 or 35 and 45%, 30 to whatever that percentage, I know that something's broken here too. Probably was callback rate, probably was either the type of mailers we were using, because we were using offer mailers and we were using at like 75% ARV mailers once, and then I was like, well, we're not getting enough leads, let's up that up to 80% because more people will call. But then like they weren't as qualified because they wanted 80%. So like I learned so many things about like our data when I could see what's our conversion rates. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's like the 1% getting better type stuff. That like these kind of forums help a ton with. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Sorry. I know, man. Like if
this is helpful. Good.
If we start diving into spreadsheets, I start geeking out, and you don't want it. It's crazy. Start really geeking out on it. But yeah, I'm glad that's helpful for you. It's crazy.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah, man.
All right. So
I think I'm live on Facebook, but I don't know where I'm live. Interesting. All right, continue.
I had a question. It goes back roughly about 8 or 9 minutes ago. You were talking to the team about how you had people from Egypt calling, and it was successful in terms of receiving some type of form of contract, but they weren't successful in closing. Was it too hard to build back up their trust after you try to follow up based upon the leads that they gave to you?
Great question.
Okay.
So like, again, I would say what happened. So there was, all right. So, cause I can walk you through because I know exactly a lot of these stuff. So you have to really, really dial in. If you're going to try to do volume, you have to dial in multiple departments. It's not just it's not just the trust that's established with the salesperson, because like there was that was there. But it's also like the process of handing that off to your TC doing an onboarding call within 24 hours or 48 hours and managing expectations from the closing side of things moving forward. The attorneys. So for us doing installments, our attorneys being able to do them in a timely manner and managing those expectations, and then communicating along the way with the sellers on where we are. Because if you're not communicating enough with them, like your TC department or whatever is not communicating enough with them, and you can imagine 17 contracts a month, right? Plus previous contracts that we had gotten. There's a lot that fell through the cracks when it came to communications because we weren't dialed in like I wanted to be, or like we should have been for that much volume. And so a bunch of stuff just fell through the cracks. And then the sellers were like, well, I haven't heard from you in a couple of weeks. So like, I thought this wasn't real. So then like a lot of that started happening. And then they started doing stuff with other people. I mean, we probably lost $100,000 in profit that month. No, like easily. I can name 2 houses and both of those were $100,000 worth of profit. So, or not, they were 50 each. So like we lost those because of slipped through the cracks. Expectations weren't managed. Communication fell through. sellers weren't. I mean, they just didn't feel valued. They didn't feel like we were real. There's a lot of things that happened that just fell through the cracks. So it wasn't just the VA closers. I can say that.
Okay.
We have had a lot of, we've had a good amount of turnover, but like necessary, got to let you go. Just got to let you go because it was hurting our business type turnover. So I would say, yeah, that's what it was. So it was the trust, but like the foundation was really rocky to begin with. Yeah.
Thank
you. Are you outsourcing TC, or you have TC in house?
I moved it in house, so I do have a good TC, but even in that, so we do a lot of foreclosures, and like, our TC person, she'll describe it. She'll be like, yes, we'll call an attorney, and the attorney will be like, this is kind of scammy. This sounds a little scammy just by nature. I don't know why. It kind of sucks. I don't know why, but like when our stateside TC, she's actually 17, super responsible. She's solid. She's so good. But she's like, yeah, I'll have conversations, and they're like, oh yeah, let's do lunch, all this stuff. And it's just very different conversations between the TC and attorneys, like a VA TC and attorneys, and our stateside TC and attorneys. It's just a different feel. So
Gotcha.
I will say we do have a good TC support. Like he's a VA and he's great support for our American TC.
Okay.
Understood. And how would you structure what you just said right there? You just said that you have an in-house, in-state TC, but then you also have a support. So I assume that the support goes through all the large data, and then they just try to track the right, I assume, I'm only assuming this, they track the right number, the information, and then they provide what they can to your stateside TC. Is that
so? Here's what I would say. Like, I think all of your top producers, if you have a team, all of your top producers should have either a VA assistant, or they should have an intern, because like they have a lot of stuff that takes them away from their zone of genius. So like give that to an intern. If you live near a local university, go and talk to whatever department that is that you're looking to hire in, and tell them that you have an intern program. And then like you'll get a lot of really quality people that will stay with you in the long run. Because then like they're hired and trained through what you're doing, and then they like your company. And if they don't have anything else they're going to go do, then they'll stay with you. And then some of them will just go, and then you go right back through the intern program. And then you can pay like significantly less for high quality interns. So you could do that, or they should have a VA that handles your stuff. Cause like I have a dispo person who's very solid dispo person, but like what they don't like is making sure all the offers are getting to Salesforce, or making sure this gets into Salesforce, or doing this, or creating flyers, or doing that. So like they have an assistant or a support person in dispo that does all that, so that they can go and sell houses, right? Like even your salespeople, like if they have calls, then like you should have a support VA for your calls for your people. Cause honestly, like they should be putting all their notes in, but you can also have a support VA listen to all the like the offer calls that get made sure all the notes are in there, and then like done well. So like once you get to a point where you have really high quality people, you want them to stay as much as humanly possible in their zone of genius, than like getting them outside of it, because it breaks focus, it breaks flow, it breaks all those things, and then it hurts your bottom line that costs you way more than $6 an hour. So I would say like that's what I would do. So when it comes to that, we have a TC, and she's got a support person. So that TC person is really good at making sure things get pushed along, or calling attorneys, or calling to make sure things get moved. Whereas the other person is organizing spreadsheets, or organizing and making sure all of the documents get into the Google Drive and on Salesforce. So like organizing data and organizing documents to make sure we're in a good place, rather than communicating. Because like just the communication isn't the best, even through emails and stuff like that. And it'd be like, hey, why would you say that? Like, why would you say that? We already talked to them about that. So like, I mean, honestly, I really think our VAs are so competent, but I'm just like, why would you do that? It's like so many times, like, I'm just like, no, man, don't do that. Like, we already talked about this. So, and like, they're so smart, but I'm just like, it's just not quite there, man. It's just not quite there. So like, we just like to have them as really good support roles.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Yeah. Of course, Ian. Yeah, I would say that's kind of what we try to do. Because then they train them up. Yeah,
I do like that approach though, just because we have that we have a little bit of a team over here,
Mhm.
And it was just like, how do we be the most effective and efficient? And I do agree with you. It's like we need some type of support from outside to where they can handle the unnecessary things that is just tedious. That take away from their time.
Because even like I do want, and like our people do go through contracts with our sellers, and so they should put the contract together. But
Right.
like if they had a support person, they would just put that contract together for them while they're on the phone. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like there's small things like that can save like friction in the process, making sure all that stuff gets in line. And even you know, your CRM, if somebody gets under contract, that information should be there and push automatically to the next department. But if it doesn't, then it's like, oh, hey, then like the contract, make sure it gets over to our TC department. Stuff like that is it's small things that really, really put a wrench in. Cause like when we were going through that really busy season, we're on like week 2 or 3. And I was like, and the TC or even Dispo is like, oh, hey, what's this house? And we were like, we got that under contract like 2 weeks ago. How did nobody know about this? So like stuff like that, it really falls through. You think it wouldn't, but it really does. Happens all the time. So yeah, trust me, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
You would think it wouldn't. So yeah, hopefully that this is helpful, because I would say like it could be very hurtful.
Also still use your flow chart.
Oh, good. Yeah. The process map.
Yeah, I still use it.
Good, man. As you should. It's important. Yeah, when we train, like when we train our new TCs or we train anybody and we're like, look, this is the process. Like print this out and put this up so you know at what point of the process are we in. So it's really important to have that dialed in. And every quarter to probably go over it, because your processes will change every quarter as you add new people, as you try new methods, as you refine your systems and your processes. It's good to go over those like once a quarter, and then probably like twice a year.
As you rotate people in and out of new roles, you know, with the turnover, do you have people create their own SOPs, like watch the stuff that's already in there and create new ones and demonstrate them? I mean,
Okay. So yeah, I would say yes. So like the TC that we have right now, she goes in, and then I have like a revolving list of SOP requests. So yeah, here it is right here. So people on our team, if they do something or they have something that they've done that they do, they'll actually come in here and they'll be like, oh, I created a new SOP for this. And then they'll put it on here, and that gets put into our you guys know, like we created our SOP to look exactly like your course does look in Go High Level. So like we have it all in here. So like, oh, what department was that SOP created in? Where is it? Here it is. Like, so it just is, we keep a rolling list of new SOPs that are created, or my whole team has access to this and puts new SOPs that they want recorded in here. If they're like, oh, because like, here's the thing for you guys, and you have to understand this for your team. What's ordinary for you is extraordinary to them. And so like, we think because we do it every day, oh, it's easy. But then when you try to hand it to somebody else, they have no idea what you're doing or no idea what you're talking about. So then I don't know what needs to be created into an SOP because it just feels normal to me. I feel like everybody should do this, but that's not always the case. And so if I have something that I can always go back on, and then we can or they can always go back on without me having to train them on it over and over, that's like super helpful. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. No, man. Hey, look, we're all trying to learn together. I'm trying to learn too. But if I can help you guys dial it in, then that is the goal.
I do want to talk about one more thing. On the side is so whenever it comes around to it, the foreclosure side, where do you find? I may have missed this part. Where's your foundation of success that you feel that is the best way to convert foreclosures based upon the 70-30 rule or better?
So this is fantastic because like I was like, all right, guys, Foreclosures, well, one, because of the moratorium in North and South Carolina, there was a moratorium because of the hurricanes. So then like they postponed like every foreclosure auction from like the last 2 months since Hurricane Helena hit. And so like there's I think like 240 foreclosures in North Carolina right now and happening in January because they all got pushed to like January. Yeah, it's a lot. And so I went to my team because like we hadn't gotten a foreclosure contract in 2 months because of the moratorium. And so I was like, guys, like, y'all need to pick this up. Y'all want to be paid. Like, we got to pick this up. And I was like, you know what? I feel like we've gone away from the basics. So I'm going to jump in. I'm going to do the basics. So I went in and and because like they've been like, man, nobody's answering. They're ghosting. I guess because they're pushed. They're not worried about it. I went in. I did like one day, I just did 12. I did 12 videos with my iPhone on here. And I spoke to like 6 people and then set up 3 appointments. And I was just like, the basics, guys, get back to the basics. And so what I did was I went through our foreclosure list. I sorted by, and I looked at all of the phone numbers that had been verified by our virtual assistant. All the one, if they were verified, then I sent a video to them, or like verified and they had a lot of equity. I definitely sent a video to them. So then like, and I got a ton of responses. And like specifically, it's so funny. Like, look at this. I'm actually going to show this to you guys in my system.
And you said that you just sent a video of you just talking to them. That's it. Like,
yeah. So, and I actually, this is also in the foreclosure section for you guys, but it says, the video says like, so for instance, I sent one to this lady. Where is this? All right. There's a lead in here in my system. I'm going to try to show you. All right, so I'm gonna try to show you this lead in my system. Yo, Susan, where you at, Susan? It's not that one. Hold on. Yo, what the heck? I really wanted to show you guys this. So there's a foreclosure. Dang. Give me a second. I know it's in here. Oh no, that's in recently viewed. That's right. Stop, homie. I'm trying to show y'all because like it actually is a really good. All right. Nope, still not. What the heck? I can't remember how to spell it. No. Anyways, whatever. I can't find it. So I talked to this lady, and if you look on our notes. Down on the notes on the side, it was like from like 3 different acquisition people. It said like voicemail call, like voicemail, text, voicemail, no answer for months. And then like I sent her a video and we talked. Like it was just like, even one of them was from like one of the sweetest girls that we had on our team. And it was like, she answered, she was really upset with me and hung up. And it was like, all right. So like from a really sweet person. And then I sent a video text and we had a conversation, and then like I think my acquisition person has an appointment with her today. So like for me, it's the basics of the text videos just work so well, man. They just work so well. So definitely, and my team got away with it. They were sending like a picture of themselves, right? Like a picture of themselves and being like, hey, this is who I am, which is still kind of personal, but it was like, oh, hey, this is who I am. And so like they thought that was good enough. And then even they started like doing pre-recorded videos. But like for this one, I was like, hey, Susan, I noticed your property on LaSalle Drive. Like, it's different. It's different. And so for us, like, yeah, that's what I mean, I got a ton of response from that.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do. That if you ask me anything, it's that.
Okay.
Yeah. Good questions. Fantastic. All right, guys, this is good. Glad y'all are here.
Absolutely.
Want to keep making these happen. This is I enjoy doing this, and I'm glad we're able to keep this consistent. Well, it was inconsistent during the holidays. Good Lord. But now we're back in stride. So I'm thankful for this. Is there anything that for me like I can do to make things better for you guys? Steven, we did switch over to Slack. Most people have Slack, so Slack's not too bad. It's a little bit easier. There's notifications in there, and we're trying to make it as good as possible to be more like community oriented, stuff like that in there. So we are in there as far as a lot of the communication is concerned, just because it allows people to honestly get notifications when things happen. Other than like, and that on the site, which is cool.
Yeah.
There's really no way to stay really involved into it. So
how do we join that Slack channel?
oh, there's a link in there.
Okay.
There's a link in the group.
Okay,
So it's like, hey guys, and you should have also got one in your email. But it says exciting news for REI Legacy community. I also am gonna let me just go ahead and just go.
Okay. I'll find it. I'll look for it.
I'm gonna go like this, and I'm gonna say Slack. It's like, no man, even that is good feedback. It's not clear enough.
Yeah.
Slack invite inside. Perfect. Updated post. Okay, cool. So
let me ask you this, Devin, while we're talking about foreclosures, if we could real quick.
Yeah.
I know there was, I don't know if I want to bring that up with, there was a situation that happened with this lady that does a lot of foreclosures.
Oh yeah, the lady that did the short sale queen.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, with that said, are you handling like the proof of funds and stuff like that, the contracts with the bank in a different way, or are you just kind of,
Yeah, I mean, like we do. I mean, we show banks proof of funds.
Okay.
Now, granted, like, I mean, there are proof of funds. There are proof of funds. So, like, that's a little bit different. And so that makes it a little bit easier. But like, yeah, we do say, hey, here are some proof of funds based off of this contract. So I don't feel, I mean, we could be. She got in trouble because I can't remember. And I don't know. So
I think they were saying she was also using, like, I guess, she was using a contract to just sort of buy more time so that she can get the thing sold. So the proof of funds, I think, were not legit. And then she was also buying more time with it. So the contracts weren't legit either.
Yeah, I do think there's something along that lines. I didn't read a lot into it, man. So like, I would hate to kind of like speculate on anything or give any sort of advice on it. I've actually never in my life done a short sale. I don't even know how to do that. I think short sales will come into play a lot more. So I think it's a good tool to have in the tool bag because of what's going. Like there's a lot of low equity foreclosures that are happening. We do sub to a lot of those, or we even sell those as a sub to. We just did this week sold a low equity sub 2 here in Charlotte. Actually, like a no equity sub 2 here in Charlotte. We made like $8,000 off of it because it had no equity. But like somebody wanted a sub 2 in Charlotte. Well, whatever. I'll take it. Yeah, I'll take it.
Cool. All right. Are we back on track now? Weekly with the calls?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Are we doing same day moving forward, same day time? Or
well, what's funny is like I have a meeting at this time at 3, which is why I did 3:30 because I have a meeting for like we have our like installment method meeting at 3, and so I was like, oh dang. So I guess I think we should probably still do a poll to see what works for everybody because I really don't know. I like to be as open as possible for everybody. This time seems like it works pretty well, but I also forget my calendar sometimes. So
it's just helpful if we can have like a specific day and time. I can block that in the calendar.
Oh, 100%. That's very helpful.
Rather than a last minute thing. Yeah. So
yeah, I want to make sure. I think it's gonna be probably around this time. You know what? I might do Tuesday at 2. I like that. Tuesday at 2. I like even the way that sounds.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Oh, maybe. We'll see. Let me check. Because today's Wednesday. I meant today.
So is the installment method with a different team or is it with your internal team?
No, that's with a different team. That's with the people that, so like I, and this is good for everybody to know too, because people love talking about installment method, which is great. I own 5% of that company. So like I'm in there with like 6 other people. Most of them are like 2 of them are attorneys that created it and some other guys. So like, but I'm in that meeting with them to kind of see how we can help that because it's a community and it's a course with it, help that to grow. But like I have like nothing that other than like I've done the most. So they made me like the face of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But I really like, because I know people are always like, can I get the contracts? Can I get the contracts? And I was like, I will get sued. The answer is no, I can't give you those. I'll teach you everything about it outside of the contract. And I do. I like don't hold back on what I teach about installment method. I just can't give contracts. So so yeah, that I do that. That is a different team.
Okay. Yeah. And the way that is this something that you would suggest? Like, let me give you an example. this would be something good that would be for a foreclosure situation, depending upon walking through the different variables and steps, and then they may just need to lead into something like this, correct?
I actually, this is very interesting, man. Now that I've done so many of them,
Yes.
one, I have to do them in South Carolina unless I do like a sub 2.
Okay.
But in North Carolina, we actually will default to wholesaling. So like, if we know that the spread's in between like $15,000 and $30,000, we'll just wholesale it. We're not gonna do an installment on it. If it's over $30,000, actually, if it's over like 40, we'll do an installment because 30,000 is our minimum to do installments. So if the spread's going to be over 40,000, we'll do installments, one, to lock in our profits. Because like we had a deal where somebody was like, hey, I don't want to sell anymore. I'll even pay you back what you guys paid me. And then and even like your fees with the attorney. And we were like, sure. Okay, we could do that. And then she was like, all right, let me just get the money together. And we were like, cool. And then like a couple weeks later, she was like, hey, I was trying to sell the house and it says that you guys are on the title. And I was like, what you mean? Like, what do you mean? I thought you said you weren't going to sell it. So like stuff like that helps us to lock in profits so people can't actually like snake us. That stuff is like when we get big deals, we 100% will install those. But then also we sell to hedge funds, and some hedge funds cap you at like a 20K profit. So then because they cap you at a 20K profit, then like that eliminates some of these deals. So for us though, with installments, we sold one deal to a hedge fund that has a cap on it, and we made $180,000 because like they didn't know, right? We were selling it as the owners. They don't know.
Right.
So like it wasn't an assignment. We were selling it. And then another reason why we would do them is like if we need to put it on the MLS. But even in that, in North Carolina, I might rather do a novation if we're not making a whole lot of money, because like we just needed to go on the MLS to sell. The reason why I would do an installment in North Carolina is like if I'm making a lot of money on it and to lock it in. So like that's really.
And so I know you have to go to your next meeting, but it's just one thing. It's just like whenever it comes around to the installment method, I was already doing research on it whenever you sent it over initially as well.
Oh, nice.
I thought it was really intriguing just because it allows you to be able to make the decisions on the property just as much as the original owner, which is really kind of cool. And you don't have to go through like a memorandum if they don't want to buy it. I mean, if they don't want to sell it, then you're just sitting there stuck. And that's what I want. So.
Yeah. So in so it's different. In South Carolina, they won't hold the deed in escrow, which means like the seller would have to come back when you sell it to sign the deed over and to collect their check. They don't see how much you make, but they sign the deed, collect their check. In North Carolina, our attorney holds the deed in escrow. So when they sign that first time, they don't ever have to sign again. So like we like that. It's very helpful for us. So then they never sign, they never come back. They're done. I mean,
so is this specific to just only North and South Carolina, or is this something that I could do here in Texas? Like with that?
Oh, dang, bro. Texas is the worst. Let me tell you why. So the reason why this started was because like during not why it started in like the 1800s, but during redlining and like predatory lending, what happened was a lot of like Black people and minorities couldn't get traditional loans from banks. And because they couldn't get these traditional loans from banks, they were doing installment contracts with people. And then what happened would, if they missed one payment, the seller would immediately foreclose on them. So then it became really predatory to minorities. So then these states came out with these laws that protect the buyer. So like, honestly, buyers on installment sales and the installment method are more protected than the seller, which is very interesting.
Okay.
But in Texas, they actually outlawed contract for deed, period. Because that's what this is, a form of contract for deed. So you cannot do any long-term contract for deeds. You can only do installments or contract for deed for 90 days or less.
Okay.
But it's really hard to find an attorney that will do it. So that is the problem with Texas right now, is like it is legal for up to 90 days. But it's hard to find an attorney that will do it because like they don't touch contract for deed out there.
Got it. I think I know a couple that would.
Sweet. Let me know. Let me know, because we got a lot of people in Texas that are looking for somebody to do these.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Devin, with these, I think I'd asked you about this before, but have you been able to refi any properties through the installment?
Man, I still have not, man. I'm really trying. The hardest part is like, and I've really tried. It makes sense, and there is IRS tax law backing it up. There's like case law to back it up, but lenders don't recognize title ownership. Like you don't have deeded ownership. They're like, I'm not going to do it. And then if you do, some of them want like a seasoning period of like a year, and you're just like, dang, bro, I might as well seller finance this thing if they're going to let me do it for a year. So then like, because it's based off of like their seller finance or contract for deed refinancing stipulations, which would be like most of them are at like a year.
Yeah, makes sense.
Seasoning period. So like I'm still trying, bro. Trust me. Because if I find somebody, holy smokes, the floodgates, man. I'll be owning 100 properties. I would own so much. That would be crazy. So yeah, it just is tough. It's tough right now.
All right.
Well, you could though. Here's what you could do, man. If you're looking to refinance it, just seller finance it. Like seller finance it, transfer that deed out. If you know that you're going to buy it and you're not going to wholesale it,
yeah,
I would just do a seller finance, and I would put the terms on there like, hey, give me 6 months and I'll pay it off in full through a refinance. Because most refinance terms honestly are going to be about a year. They're going to be like 6 months to a year seasoning period on a seller finance note, or lenders that will refinance a seller finance note.
So got you. So you'd buy it on seller finance and just put a balloon on it, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Hope that balloon doesn't pop in your face. Yeah. Gotcha.
It shouldn't though, because like the only reason why you'd have a short balloon like that is if you bought it with enough equity in it. Like if you're getting them at a low rate, if you're getting them at like a cash offer anyways, and then you're just saying, can I get a year to pay this off, or like 6 months to pay it off, and I'll pay you monthly until we do. Some of them might say, yeah, because it's just a vacant house that's been sitting or something, you know. But at least you're on the deed. If it's a seller finance, then you're on the deed. At that point, it transfers.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Devin. I appreciate that.
Oh man, of course. Here for it. This is fantastic.
All right.
All right, y'all. This has been good. If y'all need me, let me know. Like literally, like people DM me in the Slack channel all the time now. So like, here for you. I'm still gonna respond with looms. And then a lot of times too, when people ask me questions and I answer those questions with a loom or something, I'll add that into the course because other people probably have that question too. So, just let me know if y'all need anything. This is fantastic.
Sounds good. Thanks,
all
Devin.
Right.
Appreciate
y'all. I appreciate y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all take it easy. All right.
All
Kobe.
right.
Hey, I got a Kobe painting back there, but it's a little bit dark. But it's
okay.
I love Kobe, man. Love Kobe.
Yeah. Black
you ain't lying. See you guys.
All right.
Bye. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to end this thing and it won't let me. There we go.